Moana 2, taking place 3 years after the events of the first movie, we follow Moana sailing off into the ocean on the search for an island. Along with the help of some people from her tribe and Maui, she hopes reaching this island can solve a problem her people are having. And that's all, pretty much. Any spoilers, you guys. This will be a spoiler-free review. It's crazy to think we are almost at the 10-year mark since Moana first came out. 8 years to be exact, and right before we hit that 10-year mark with that movie that I did enjoy a lot when it first came out. Memorable songs, good animation, lovely story, fun characters. 8 years later, we are now finally getting a sequel and a live adaptation currently being filmed. It is just a weird time in Hollywood, but what was even weirder to me is the background history of Moana 2. And some of you probably know of this. Disney had a change of heart in where they wanted to put a lot of their efforts. There was a point in time where they thought, let's just make as much stuff as possible for Disney Plus because that's where the money is streaming. But they've altered their course and now realize, oh, I think theaters is still the money maker for us. Let's focus on putting stuff there, turning what was supposed to be a Moana sequel series that was going to Disney Plus and repurposing it to be a sequel to one of the most popular Disney animated movies made in recent years. And that was my biggest worry slash red flag going into Moana 2. Is this going to be a Toy Story 2 situation where when that movie was being made as a straight to VHS sequel to Toy Story, halfway through making that project they realized we have a really good movie on our hands, how about let's throw it in theaters and, well, people love Toy Story 2? Or is it more going to be, we just don't want to waste our time with something on Disney Plus and let's see if we can just manage to make this passable enough for theaters. And after watching Moana 2, I'm afraid it's the latter. But I'll be honest with you, they definitely managed to salvage this Disney Plus series into an actual decent sequel to Moana, but it is also a very underwhelming movie. And I think a lot of people can feel that even just from the marketing of this film. I mean, take a look at something like Inside Out 2. That was another sequel to a film that came out years ago. When Inside Out 2 was being marketed and shared around, it felt like a big event. It was like, oh my God, we're getting Inside Out 2. You would think there'd be a bigger marketing push for this movie. You think Disney would treat it like a much bigger event. And yet, I bet some people are kind of surprised this is releasing this week, which I've already gotten those comments from some people going, oh, that comes out this weekend? Moana 2? And I feel like the generic soft marketing push by Disney is because they just weren't that confident in what they came out with. I'll get into that more in a sec, but I don't want to paint the picture too horribly like this is an awful, terrible movie, because it's really not. Like, I'm surprised that they actually managed to turn what was supposed to be a TV show into an actual movie that for sure had its moments. Like, some of the stuff I enjoyed is I just liked seeing Moana get older. Her entire tribe, island, and community, you can see that they've aged up a little bit, and Moana's become a bigger sister. The moments Moana has with her younger sister were very adorable to watch. The animation at times I thought was really beautiful, especially when it came to the ocean sequences and the finale of this film. And I guess even jumping off that point, really that is the thing that ultimately saved this movie for me by a milestone, is the third act of this film. I'll argue the first two acts are up and down. There's some enjoyable stuff in there. It's, oh, we're jumping back into this world of Moana. We're meeting some new faces, setting up a new problem they have to overcome. But a lot of it does feel low stakes, and that makes sense with it originally being a TV show. It wasn't going to have earth-shattering events, because the majority of this plot was conceived to just be something you watch on streaming one day. So it's not like I was having a bad time with the first two acts of Moana 2. It just had me going in the back of my mind like, I just wish this felt like a bigger reason to return to this world instead of what just feels like a random adventure. You know, we get to meet some newer faces that join along Moana on this adventure outside of Maui. And there were times I could tell the TV show version of this story was probably going to be more beneficial to those side characters, because we were probably going to spend more time getting to know them, seeing a little bit more of their backstories, motivations, how us, the audience, could grow to like them more, but having to cut all that out to fit a 1 hour, 40-minute movie. The side characters still feel very underdeveloped, although I will say the standout for me was the character in charge of fixing the boat. I did find her to be a lot of fun, but all of it again just comes off underwhelming until we get to that finale. Here's really where I think Disney kind of put their thinking cap on and was trying to figure out, how can we redeem this in a way that'll be beneficial to us without having to scrap everything we already worked on with this TV show? And I think that's when they had the kind of brilliant idea to make Moana 2 more of a setup movie for something larger and more meant for a true Moana movie sequel. And Moana 2 is just gonna have to pay that price for now. Because when I tell you, it was the ending, the last 30, 20 minutes of this movie that kind of saved it all for me and made it actually feel worthy of a sequel, because they do some kind of interesting things with Moana's character, Maui's character, and they put the puzzle pieces in place for something that's going to be a lot more satisfying come the next movie, because Moana 2 has a mid-credits scene, believe it or not. And I think there will be enough people satisfied with the way this movie ends, what they do with Moana, and where they tease the story might be going next, that when Moana 3 comes out, you'll be interested to see it, and that will be the actual film that gets the giant marketing push that is treated like the real sequel to the first movie that was very beloved, instead of just kind of sneakily releasing this movie and going, yeah guys, it's a sequel to Moana. Watch it. Oh, and I didn't even mention, because that's how forgettable they are, songs in here, not that memorable. I like quite a handful of the songs from the first Moana movie. With the 8 years it's been listening to that original soundtrack, some of them hit a nostalgia chord in me, and the songs in Moana 2 just fall flat. So when it comes to Moana 2, guys, I'm gonna give action 3.5 stars. The interesting thing about the two Moana movies is that they actually don't have a direct villain. There's always this like bigger monster or thing they have to fight, but it never feels like they have a real villain, and I'm kind of glad they're finally going to give us one for the third movie. Comedy in the film, I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. Yeah, there's some jokes here and there. Mainly, it's the chicken hey hey that gets me laughing, but it's a lot of innocent, cute humor. Drama in the film, I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. This was just a very underwhelming story. You could just tell it really wasn't supposed to be the big return to the Moana world, but I do give them props for actually salvaging and setting up an ending that genuinely has me interested to see more. Horror in the film, I'll give 1 star too. That's mainly for some of the sea monsters and creatures that you'll see in this movie, and since this is for little kids, it might frighten them. And suspense in film, I'm gonna give it 2 stars, with the kind of underwhelming story and the stakes not feeling as high, plus it being a family-friendly movie. I think it's pretty predictable where some things will go. Casual fans into the Moana world, I'm gonna give it a B+. Cinephiles, I'm gonna give it a C+. And critically, I'm going to give it a C+. While Moana 2 isn't a bad movie at all, it is kind of an underwhelming return to what was a really great film, so I recommend you rent and watch it at home.
That'll do, Donkey. That'll do.
Again, that's just my opinion on Moana 2. I know there's going to be a lot of people that still walk away happy enough with this film, and I'm glad for you. But I mean, being honest with yourself, comparing a long-awaited sequel like Inside Out 2 and Moana 2, there is a mile gap of difference. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.